back. So this has been a year in development for us, which probably should have been our Devlog 0. But here we are, and we've been working very hard to go from this to this. This is NightShift, our anime-inspired, stylish action drifting game, where you play as a dude fighting his way to become the #1 driver in his city while maintaining his retail job at a furniture store. Even though I said we'd be kickstarting sometime around March or April, we will be demoing and kickstarting this game from the end of June through July. We currently have a playtest build in our Discord if you want to check out our systems and give some feedback. Link is in the description below. So let's bring you up to speed what's been happening with NightShift. In our devlogs, we started at the very beginning of the project. Although we had something to show, our game is decently big and we spent a lot of time coding the driving systems and other systems that would be a part of our game and getting them right before we focused on the art. If you have kept up with our videos, you'll notice a lot of our assets were either from the asset store or from old games, like our car sprites. But we can finally say as of a few weeks ago, we've deleted all placeholder assets and tools are now 100% custom. Well, except for Fmod and Audio Tool, which is slightly customized. We really wanted to get the gameplay and feel of the car right. Our goal was to have the car drive and handle like you expect a car to handle in normal racing games like Initial D, For Legends, Need for Speed, and any other game that prioritizes drifting as gameplay. But for NightShift, we wanted the drifting to feel like you were behind the wheel of a car in an anime. See how sick that is? We wanted the drifting to feel
just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
But seriously though, we'll be going into what the gameplay of NightShift's drifting actually looks like later in this video. The issue is that gameplay mechanics and code are hard to convey in general unless we go deeper than willing, and I've seen tons of devlogs with zero gameplay and nothing other than 3D characters walking around, but there's an environment and animations that you can see and then understand what the vision of the game is, and that's hard to do when all you have is rough prototyping and a lot of code and absolutely no editing skills. So while Burnley was ironing out our driving systems in the back, I started working on the AI that was going to be a separate video, but we thought no one's going to watch it, so let's just save time and put it all in one video. So I did a quick tutorial from CodeMonkey about setting up car AI. It took a minute because their systems are a lot more complicated to hook up. So now that I have the steering and gas components hooked up, finishing the tutorial, I set the AI to follow after a node, which seemed to work pretty well so far, but this obviously wouldn't be winning races anytime soon. So I placed the nodes around the track so we can get an idea of the car going downhill, but I already knew this wasn't going to be enough for our AI to be good or dynamic. When watching that CodeMonkey tutorial, I noticed another tutorial he had on Unity's MLA agents and machine learning AI, which we may or may not use for a game. We're not sure. Let us know in the comments below. Should we have an adaptive machine learning AI that learns while you play the game? Let us know. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. If you like what we're doing and want to see this game come out, subscribing and following us on our other platforms helps a ton to get visibility on our project and helps us keep going. You can also support us directly on Patreon, link in the description below. So in the ML Agent tutorial, I saw these adjustable raycast spheres with collision detection and auto-adjusting length, and I'm like, oh my god, yes please. I looked up how to use these without Unity's ML agents, but it seems to only work with, so I ended up making my own. I got it working with all the features I wanted in the video, being able to adjust the amount of sphere casts and their angles, along with being able to adjust the size of the spheres and the lengths of their rays, all while updating in real time in the editor. Me and Burnley then went over our updates, and he had been working on a lot of the back end and setting up the game managers and how our levels will be passing data between each other. Basically, the architecture of the game like a boss. During some time in the working on the car, I got tired of our current minimap and wanted to make a better one that's more in the style of what we're going for, so that happened. But the goal for this sprint was to get the AI to be able to drive down the mountain road consistently. So I tuned the scripts and the sphere cast sensors and the way the car handles while placing and adjusting checkpoints until it seemed like it was pretty consistent. And after I got the AI working, we swapped out the borrowed car art with our custom car sprites, finally. And seeing our own cars in the game was so hype, we were like, yo, we have a game now. And at this point, it was time to tackle the mountain road. We thought we could hold out doing a full 3D mountain road and just use the road tool from the asset store, but the road tool from the asset store was bloated and we were having development and performance issues with it. So we had to move over to the Blender way earlier than I thought we would. Burnley, however, had been wanting this for a minute now. So I started creating the mountain road in Blender. To save some time, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail because if I talk about the amount of iterations we gone through, how many times I had to rebuild this mountain road, like setting things up wrong because I'm a noob, needing the road to be entirely different because it didn't play well, clipping issues, ground collisions, causing the car to bounce. Oh my god, bro, 12 hours of work lost at several points. So here's what we got now. Don't mind the road lines, the shaders are currently broken, but that's okay because we've added particle effects and post-processed lighting. So our game looked a whole lot better, but do the looks add up to anything? We see a lot of pretty games that have simple gameplay or don't have well thought out gameplay. So like I said, we spent a year pretty much honing the gameplay so that the core mechanic, the driving, would be fun and satisfying to do by itself. So if we made this game with no objective, no race, no opponent, no time trial to beat, it would simply be fun to drive around. We wanted the driving to be more active than normal racing and drifting games since we're making a stylish action drifting game while still being true to racing genre we love, and cars in general. So our drift relies off of real world mechanics but abstracted, meaning they loosely represent what the real life actions are to achieve a similar effect. Normally to drift, people think of turning hard and pulling the e-brake, which is factual, and while we do have an e-brake, it isn't our main method of drifting. So starting out, we have gas braking in reverse. Instead of being automatic or manual shifting game, we went for a hybrid of the two. We want you to be shifting since the game is called NightShift, but we also didn't want to block players who aren't hardcore racing gamers, even though we still got stuff for you guys too. We added a clutch where when pressed, we shift you up, and doing so at the right time, just like in a normal manual car, will give you a boost. Well, assuming you double clutch. You only have to press it once to get the boost in our game, because we assume you double clutch. No granny shifting here.
Granny shifting, not double clutching like you should.
Now you're probably thinking, cool, what's the difference besides the boost? Well, we auto downshift you depending on the amount of speed you lose. So the idea is that we want you to be always shifting, trying to maintain your speed. You drift and lose some speed, braking, shift. You hit a guardrail and lose some speed, shift. Now writing this, I realize it just sounds like a built-in recovery mechanic, which it is, but the main purpose is style and having an active and satisfying driving feel. We wanted it to feel like Fast and the Furious, where they're constantly shifting while making it actually make sense. Since we're making a stylish action drifting game, we want you shifting and boosting whenever you get an opportunity and not be penalized when you do lose speed and then have to match your gear to the speed you were going like a normal manual car. But that doesn't make NightShift's mechanics simple. You still have to pay attention to your gears and speed to shift up to a higher gear and higher speeds, especially if you want to boost. There's also the option of not shifting to control your speed if you feel like you're going dangerously fast. And for you hardcore out there, if you really need to, you can still manually downshift by rev matching the real world way. Heel toe, where you hold clutch, shift, and press the brake to manually downshift your car, which will rev match you at the right speed so there isn't a feeling of acceleration lag when you get back on the gas. So that's the basics of our driving controls. Now for the fun stuff. While doing research, we watched a few videos on how to drift, and a lot of instructors were suggesting clutch kicking as the easiest drift to learn and one that can be practiced at lower speeds. Clutch kick drifting is when you brake while steering your car and your car leans forward, so your back tires become unweighted since most of the weight is now transferred to the front of the car, giving them a lot less pressure on the road. You then kick the clutch in and out to stall the wheels and add a jolt of power to the tires, kicking the tires into slip, losing traction on the road. Later I saw a Noriara video where you can pull the e-brake and engage the clutch to drift as a starting drift, which seemed fairly easy, but after seeing the clutch kick videos, we figured that would be our main gameplay mechanic.
I don't know if I would have started out with that advice again, but it is all valid.
Okay, one more time with the handbrake.
So, to drift in NightShift, what you do is use the brake to charge up your drift while turning. You then engage the clutch when you feel that you have a high enough drift to then kick out your drift angle. The longer you hold the brake is the higher your drift angle will be when you kick out the back of the car. The higher the drift angle, the higher and sharper your drift turn will be. So it's a balance of how much you feel you will need to turn in the upcoming corner. Getting it right gets you a burst of speed, and getting it wrong could prove fatal to the race. But since NightShift is a stylish action drifting game, we gave you a drift cancel. Yeah, maybe it's not realistic, and we don't care. You have a cancel. So if you up your drift, you can actually cancel out of it by double tapping the gas button at any point, because we're G like that. Also, while drifting, you can brake to charge up your drift, clutch kick again if you need a bit more to get around the turn. So we didn't leave you high and dry. We just made our game a lot more active and stylish, and gave you many options that you can tackle these turns with. So that's the basics of drifting. Now on to the pepper. So you've probably been wondering, well, what the does e-brake do? Just brake you harder than normal brake? Well, yes, that's exactly what it does. But it also functions as a way to spice up your drifting. So instead of allowing you to just drift with e-brake, the e-brake, when held, ices out the car, causing you to travel straight at the angle you were going while maintaining your drifting angle. This is important for two reasons. This means you can now pre-drift or set up a drift before a turn while still traveling straight. This also means when you finish e-braking, you will continue into the same drift or at the drift drift angle you entered into the e-brake with, allowing you to chain drift combos and pre-drift, aka rear entry drift, and allow you to continue drifting after launching yourself into a turn. This allows you to control your speed and gives you many ways to drift and chain drifts that fit your playstyle. So that's the sum of the gameplay for now, but we'll be adding a lot more customization to the full game. We've started setting up interactions in the store and swapped out the old sprites for updated ones that our artists Win put together, and we started making other outside car areas that will be present in the game. We also got our game audio, radio, and music coming in from Creative Isaiah as well. Here's a little bit of that now. So we're almost done with the full demo of the game. We'll be launching our Kickstarter at the end of this month for sure. We have no choice. We're gonna have to get jobs at this point. If we don't, which will slow down production. The game will still get done regardless if we have to get jobs, but if you don't want to see us slow down and you want to see us come out as soon as possible, support us on Patreon and like and subscribe and join our Discord. We have a lot more current updates on our social media platform, and we also stream on Twitch Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm Marquise Gladney, and this has been a year of dev on NightShift. See you soon.